ask me about other states in the North that had slavery. And I'm glad you guys are interested. I don't mind showing you some of the things that I do know about just from me studying over the years. As I stated before in my other video, Camden, New Jersey was a place that had slavery. In fact, it was a site where slave auctioning also took place in Camden, New Jersey. And there's a marker in the very spot that slaves were auctioned off in New Jersey. All right. And it was actually, the marker was actually put in place back in 2017. All right. So it says enslaved Africans once sold here. And this is not far from the waterfront in New Jersey. You know, it's something that we should all know. And here's Pennsylvania. Believe it or not, this monstrosity right here is in the Germantown area. And it's really a dump. They got, like, you see the tires right here dumped in there, but this is actually a slave burial site right here in Pennsylvania. You know, I see it's all overgrown and it looks a mess, but these slaves actually date back, not long after the colony was established in the Germantown, Pennsylvania area. But this is called Mount Moriah Cemetery in Pennsylvania, and this is where slaves are buried. It's a shame they didn't keep it up and, make a real historic site out of it. It looks like they simply don't care. Okay. This is another location. Now, I showed in my other video the burial site that was in New York City in Manhattan. This one is in another location in New York, and there's actually several of these sites around New York. This one is in a place called Hunts Point, New York, and this is also the slave burial ground there. And what I will do, I will leave the link to each one of these articles in the description box, and you can go through them yourself. Maine also had slavery. See, I mean, it's mind-blowing when you start getting into these different locations that had slaves. They all had slavery, even Massachusetts, Connecticut. Here's Vermont. Vermont also had slavery at one point. And this is actually the bill of sales for a slave by the name of Rosa that was sold at the university. This university professor is showing the bill of sale for a slave up in Vermont, Burlington, Vermont. And Connecticut had slaves. New Hampshire also had slaves. And this is really a good site. Now, it shows you how, this is from the Smithsonian. And the good thing about this map, it reveals wherever farmland cropped up around the country, that's where slaves were demanded and brought in. So these maps reveal how slavery expanded across the United States. Now, remember, oh no, it was just in the South. It was just in the South. You didn't build the whole country. That was just in the South. You just built part of the country. You see what lies are being told? I've had somebody come in my comment section and actually write that. It was back when the immigrants were talking about this country was built by immigrants. And I said, no, No, Black people built this country. And ladies and gentlemen, just looking at this kind of map, you can see it's really true. Now, every time these folks came over from Europe, many of them established farms. And when they established farms, they brought in slaves. And this map is going to show you, look how widespread it is. Look how widespread slavery was. And it's telling you, even in the title, it expanded across the United States. So no, we are not making this up when we say Black people built this country. We really did. It went well beyond farming. Farming was just one aspect of what slaves did. But you can see, as hunger for more farmland stretched west, so did the demand for enslaved labor. In these maps, you can find right here under Smithsonian.com, and I will leave the link to this as well. And you can see all of the territories beyond the South that wanted slaves because people were coming in here getting free land. Remember, they were giving free land out. But, when it came time for us to really get our 40 acres and a mule, we're still sitting here with nothing. All right. And they have interactive maps also. Enslaved persons, mile. So they have a bunch of interactive maps that show you what the population was like and slaves in those territories, enslaved population. And you can see again on the interactive map the spread of U.S. slavery, 1790 to 1860. And you can see some areas out here in the West. These people had farms and they wanted slaves. All right. And you can see spots here, and we know the South. And look at the Midwest and the Northeast. Look at how heavily saturated they were with slaves. The spread of U.S. slavery. So again, ladies and gentlemen, free African slaves, of course, they were moving about, through the country. That's normal. But please come out and look at this site. It's very interesting and gives a lot of details that you might not have ever heard before about, slavery and why it spread all over the U.S. It's all in here. But again, don't let these folks tell you that it was only in one area. And, we are not lying when we say our forefathers literally built this country and gave the biggest contribution. There is no group of people that came to this land and gave more of themselves than our people. They can talk all the shit they want. History will always reveal the truth. They will come here and they will shit on Black people, but now one of these groups that came here can say they did more work in this land than us. I don't care how mad they get. They can get as mad as they like. And they can stomp around talking about some supervisor. A supervisor, that is just a made-up job, ladies and gentlemen, just to make themselves feel like they were more important than a slave. That's all that job was. The job, if supervising is so important, then please explain why farmers today that lose their immigrants to ICE, how come the supervisor is not out there in preventing the crops from rotting? There's stories out here with crops rotting in 2018. because they don't have the manpower to save their crops. So if supervising is so important, how come the supervisor is not out there saving the crops? How come the supervisor didn't stop the famine from happening in the South after the slaves left the plantation? There was a famine in the South. How come the supervisor didn't stop that from happening? The supervisor job is nothing but made up BS, again, just to make them feel like they were more important than the slaves. That's all that is. When they talk all that stuff, you can practically laugh in their face. That person did absolutely nothing. That's the laziest job on the plantation, the supervisor. So again, ladies and gentlemen, please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I will see you on the next video. Peace, family.